And also the movie we just mentioned a second ago, Metropolis.
I ruined your seg.
No, it's fine. Yeah, Metropolis. Maybe the big daddy of this entire decade.
Yup.
I mean, what a picture.
Yeah. This movie is great.
Yep. I think we both watched it twice for this episode.
I didn't actually get the chance to watch it again, but
okay.
I want to. I will. I've seen it many times before, and I love it.
Yeah, I think this was probably I watched it twice, and I think that was probably my third and fourth and fifth watches of it. Like I'd seen it a few times before. I think I'd seen it when I was like a teenager, and then again in college. Because everyone loves talking about this movie because it's super famous and is good. Hot take: Metropolis, really cool. Good movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like what do we even say about it? It's like there's so much to say about Metropolis, kind of, that it's like where to start.
What was your first experience with Metropolis?
I think it was renting it from the library on DVD. And watching. I don't know if it was part of any sort of like, because I had a sort of organized film class as part of my homeschool syllabus that covered a lot of kind of classic movies. I don't think that was one of them though. I think I just heard about it from like as I was getting interested in filmmaking and film history and things like that. It was just so ubiquitous kind of in like books about it. I gotta watch this Metropolis thing.
I watched it when I was 16, probably renting it from the library. It's very possible that we watched it at the same time together a long time ago.
Maybe. It's been long enough where I'm not sure.
And this is probably the first silent movie that I saw. Maybe
it's definitely one of the first I'd seen.
I think I maybe saw some Chaplin shorts with a live piano when I was like a little kid. But I remember, I don't know, it being kind of like thinking I was hot shit as a 16-year-old for thinking that Metropolis was good. Like, I'm a big film guy.
I've seen Metropolis. Yeah, I think this is probably a lot of people's first exposure to silent film. Just because only. Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to see it on 35mm film in the past week because it was playing at the Metrograph. Even though it was a less complete restoration.
They should have turned it into the Metropolis-ograph.
I think it was the 2002 era restoration, which is not as complete as the more recent one. So I watched it again because I wanted to see all the extra scenes that were rediscovered in the interim. But this is like one of the most like iconic, influential movies ever made, probably.
Yeah.
Not probably, definitely.
Yeah.
I started like a count of like how many things I recognized from other stuff that are like just straight up pulled from this movie. Like not influenced, or just like directly referencing or just like pulling stuff from this movie. I had to stop because I'm like, there's too many. But it's
Can you
like
list off a few.
I'll list off a few: Star Wars, Blade Runner, The Fifth Element, Ex Machina, Poor Things, Brazil, The Terminator, Hudsucker Proxy, Army of Darkness, Frankenstein, Final Fantasy VII, 1989, Batman, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Andor, the TV show, and Bioshock. So I've thrown video games in there too.
Yeah. Although there is a Final Fantasy VII movie, which we will cover. The Frankenstein thing I thought was really interesting because, this is post-Frankenstein book, but pre-Frankenstein, not the first Frankenstein movie, but pre-iconic
We covered the first Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Which, notably, the monster was made in like a weird cauldron. Because, I don't know if we talked about this that much in that episode, but in the book Frankenstein, it's never really explicitly stated how the monster is created. It's like through some sort of vague scientific means that Frankenstein discovers, but it doesn't go into any detail about it. It's like mainly very, very vaguely implied to be something like electricity, but electricity is not mentioned as like a thing.
And by Frankenstein, by the monster, you mean Frankenstein, right?
I mean the creature. Frankenstein's monster. The creature.
You mean that's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein's what is it? Frankenstein's monster's monster. Frankenstein.
Yeah, so I mean the scene of the inventor animating the robot and adding the human face to it, very Frankenstein in the kind of way that you imagine Frankenstein creation to be.
Water, like boiling liquids and like sparks and lightning bolts and like weird sci-fi machinery.
Looks like the Godzilla guy's laboratory too.
The Godzilla guy?
The scientist in the first Godzilla movie has a very Frankenstein-y...
Dr. Serizawa.
There you go. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves, though. I mean, I don't know. If you're listening to a silent movie podcast, you probably know about Metropolis, but I feel like we should give it a quick thing.
So this movie was written by Thea von Harbo, who was at the time married to Fritz Lang, the director. And she wrote this as a serialized novel, I think sort of about the same time as she was writing it as a screenplay, sort of always intending for it to be a movie. And Fritz Lang kind of contributed to the script. They were married when they made this movie. They divorced in 1933 because of infidelity, and also probably because Thea von Harbo was a Nazi at that point.
Dang.
Yeah. I mean, I tried to find some more kind of concrete confirmation on like how much of a Nazi she was. And it seems a little vague, but it's like she didn't leave, and she like stayed to make, state sponsored movies. So, but anyway, this movie is about a rich boy in a big dystopian city where all the rich people live above ground in giant gleaming skyscrapers, and all the not rich people live underground and have to work the machinery to keep the city running, basically.
This is an extremely socialist movie.
Yeah.
It's
it's this movie is extremely something, but it's so kind of vague and broad in its like social messaging that I feel like it can be and has been pulled in different directions by different people and reading it different ways.
I mean, I guess, but it's like all about like the working class versus the ruling class,
Yeah.
It problematizes it a bit. I think that the last time that I watched this movie, which was maybe 4 years ago, I kind of came away thinking that it had a bit more radical of a message than it does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I probably did also.
Yeah. Rewatching it this time, I was like, okay, like, I guess it's kind of saying that we should all just get along.
Yes.
In a way.
Ultimately, I wholly agree. The ultimate message of this movie is, why can't we all just get along? Which is not nearly as kind of subversive as it almost like pretends to be, I feel like.
Yeah. It makes me wonder like what was going on and with, I don't know, there's so much social messaging in this movie. I think that a lot of it is not broad. A lot of it is like very pointed, and the place that it's pointing is toward revolution of the proletariat, Yeah, then it adds in these kind of weird, complicating elements that are driven by the sci-fi aspects of the movie, of Maria, the robot version of Maria.
Right. Maria isn't a robot, but there is a robot that pretends to be Maria.
Yeah. So there's this big divide between the working class who live underground and work 50% of the time, and then the ruling class who live in a beautiful, lush gardens and crazy skyscrapers and rapture upstairs.
One of the first scenes is we see a shift change of the workers, and they're all sort of walking in this like kind of mechanical way.
They've been turned into tools. They've been turned into robots, becoming instrumentalized by the society.
It's workers leaving a factory, right? One of the first things ever, like shown to people on film.
What a legacy.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's these themes that carry on through all of film history, I'm noticing, which are trains and workers leaving factories. So yeah, they're referred to as the head and the hands, right? The head being the ruling class of, they're just all thinking about stuff all the time, and the hands just being in this perpetual state of work. And we meet Frater, who is the son of the architect of the city, Yo Fraterson.
Yes. And Frater lives like a very insulated life. He's a rich boy who has never thought about the kind of struggle and pain that goes into upholding the society that he lives in.
Right. I'm blissfully unaware of it even.
Yeah.
Like it's not even that it doesn't cross his, it's like he's never been told about it, I assume.
Yeah. And one day, Maria, who is kind of like a preacher, in the down below
the region. Downstairs.
she lives downstairs.
Yeah, upstairs, downstairs.
She comes and brings a bunch of children up on an elevator into was it called the Pleasure Garden, I think so, yeah.
And it's like it's this like botanical garden, right? But it's all like sci-fi plants. It's like there's this cool like panorama shot of a painting, like a panoramic painting of like these crazy trees and plants and things. So it's like even the gardens are like exaggerated sci-fi craziness.
But presumably, it is on Earth, so presumably it is like science has created all of these cool plants.
Yeah.
That people get to look at in the garden. She's like kind of a preacher / like revolutionary political leader, and she brings a bunch of children up in an elevator to the Pleasure Garden, and they're all just in rags and dirty and suffering. She's like, look, this is how the other half lives, children,
Yeah. And then she's like almost immediately like pushed back in the elevator by the guards.
You'd think that if you can just take an elevator, it might be a little easier it might be a little difficult.
Maybe there was a whole story we didn't see.
Yeah.
Of like she had to like break into the elevator. But so Frater sees Maria and he's like, who is she? Hello.
Hubba.
He follows her down to the underground city.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I want to see where this goes.
I should say it's not a hubba situation. It's like he does seem like concerned that there are people who are sad living in the basement.
He's simultaneously hubba and also like, wait, who are these people? Where do they come from? Where are they going?
Yeah.
And so he follows them down and he finds himself in the factory bowels of Metropolis. There's all these massive machines and this great musical score going on, and he sees this giant machine, right?
Yeah.
And he gets bonked on the head, and he looks up at it, and he sees a scene from the movie Cabiria.
Taking it back once again. I didn't realize that he got bonked on the head. I thought he was just so overcome with
I believe he gets bonked on the head like right before the transition where he sees the big factory thing that transforms into the temple of Moloch.
Yeah, so immediately when he walks in, like it's this giant machine, like you were saying, that has all of these like workers switching things back and forth, but like,
and they're all like synchronized, like in like it's almost like a dance. But they're all like doing their, their.
I mean, they look like robots,
they all look like intentional. They look like pieces of machinery, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think this whole scene is like probably one of the most metaphorically, dense parts of the movie. So it's this like the machine has all these panels on it that the workers are attending to. They're like sweating and suffering like while they're doing all of this because it's like hard work and it's hot and everything like this. And then there are stairs that go up in the middle of the kind of big machine, and that is where when he gets bonked, he sees this big Moloch mouth that is eating all of the workers.
Well, it's like he sees the workers being like fed into it.
Yeah.
By like soldiers.
Yeah. So
like old timey, like ancient, not Egyptian, but like, you know, Mesopotamian guys.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, it's like drawing this parallel between like the suffering of workers for the benefit of the great city above, and sacrificing innocent souls to an eldritch god, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so cool. and it's like saying a lot. It's saying a lot to the audience about labor, and it is saying a lot to Freder about labor.
Yeah.
And he is instantly like, this is horrible. I did not know that my entire life was built on the suffering of other people.
Yeah. There's also like an industrial accident that he sees where like people are like blown up and like thrown off the machine, and like it catches fire. And
yeah. And then they're like, get back on the machine. You have to keep like the work must continue.
So naturally he goes upstairs to his dad, who lives in the new Tower of Babel, which is
not
this massive...
not a bad thing to name your tower.
Yeah, no possible negative connotations there, or bad omens. And so he goes up to his dad, who is sort of runs the city basically. And
I
he's
run
like,
this city.
Yeah. He's, you know, looking out windows all stern like. And he's like, "Hey Dad, what's up with all the people, you know, being worked to death in the basement?" And he's like, "It's keeping the city running. Like, you like being rich, don't you?" And he's like, is that all you have to say?" He's like, "Yeah, I know. Like, what about it?" So Freder is not happy about this. And so he goes back down to the workers level.
Yeah.
And decides to switch places with one of the workers, who's I think only ever identified by his number 11811. And so they like swap clothing, and Freder goes to work on the clock machine for 10 hours, which is this giant circular thing that looks like a clock that he's just moving hands around.
It's not 10 hours though. It's 12 hours. That's another kind of like really subtle thing that the movie does, is they have a clock for the upstairs people, which is a normal 12-hour clock. And they have a clock for the subterranean people, which is 10 hours. So they've taken the day and divided it into 20 instead of 24, so that they're working longer shifts.
How did I not pick up on that?
I mean, they don't ever call attention. They call attention to it a little bit, but they show the two clocks next to each other.
Right.
But
there's a lot of clock imagery. So
definitely, the machine that Freder is on is like a big clock. But yeah, like it's like this kind of subtle way that they're like mentally engineering these people to like work more.
Damn.
The other kind of crazy thing that happens is that like there's a guy that kind of works under his dad.
Oh, right, yeah.
Freder goes up to him and he's like, or Yo is his first name, I guess.
I think it's like short for Johann.
Okay, yeah.
Because Johann is spelled Joh.
Yeah.
Like, so, and then also his dead wife's name is Hel, which I assume is short for like Helena or some other like German name.
Or short for hell.
But it's like they both have like 3-letter names, which I assume are short for longer names.
So he goes up and tells his dad about the explosion. And his dad has like these kind of underlings, and he says to the underling, like, 1, why'd you let my son see all this stuff? And 2, what's with the explosion? And you didn't tell me about it. And he was like, sir, I didn't mean to, I didn't get the chance to tell you. I was going to try and deal with it myself. The big papa says, you're fired, buddy. And then this guy walks out and then pulls out a gun and tries to shoot himself because being fired from the upstairs basically means that you become a laborer downstairs, and like he knows how terrible that is, and he's like, I'd rather die, basically. Which is also saying a lot. Yeah.
But Freder stops him, and he's like, you can come stay in my apartment, it's fine, don't worry about it, I'll get you a new job. don't go crazy. And then, I mean, there's a lot of... This movie is pretty plotty. A lot of things happen, especially in the fully restored one. There's a whole subplot with... Yo sends, like, his spy after his old assistant to like spy on him and find out where Frater is going. I feel like we need to like keep this ball rolling.
Fair. Talk about the robot.
Right. Yo Fraterson is aware of some kind of like, he's finding all these map fragments on the workers, right? And so he takes the map fragments to his old buddy Rotvang, not Rotvang. I guess Rotvang would be the more accurate pronunciation. Who is a mad scientist who was in love with Frater's mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it's sort of ambiguous what the love triangle situation between them three was, between Yo, Rotvang, and Hell. But Rotvang has a giant statue head of Hell in his house. His house being this like spooky like wizard's cottage in the middle of this like futuristic city, which is
it's very weird.
Cool.
Yeah, it's like a shack that's like in the middle of all this Art Deco beauty.
But so at some like Rotvang was in love with Frater's mother and holds a grudge against Yo for stealing his girl, basically. And Rotvang has built a robot to replace Hell. The coolest robot ever made.
True. And not the first German movie we've seen to replace a real woman with a robot.
True, yeah. But so they figure out that the papers are a map of the catacombs, so they go down to the catacombs, Rotvang and Yo, and they find this sort of secret meeting being led by Maria, where she's talking about a prophecy about a mediator between the classes, right? She's like,
right,
there will be a person. She tells the story of the original Tower of Babel and how it, fell, and the class divide is what brought it down. And then she's like, but someone's gonna show up, and they're gonna be the heart that will connect the head and the hands. The big thing of this movie is the mediator between the head and the hands has to be the heart. And Frater is in the meeting. He hears this and immediately is like, guess they're talking about me. He is like immediately like, oh, this like prophetic chosen one figure. It's like, oh, it's clearly me, right? Cool.
I mean, he's doing the right thing generally, right?
He is. I just think that's very funny that he immediately is like, oh, yeah, me. Totally me. Definitely who they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. In a way, it makes sense because he is the only person from the city to seem to care about the lives of the people below them.
Or the only one willing to like do anything about it, for sure.
Yeah.
So then Yo wants Rotvang to make the robot into a duplicate of Maria, because Rotvang has said like, I can make this robot look like anybody, and he's like, make it look like Maria, and then we can swap it out with the real Maria and completely discredit her whole movement. And Rotvang agrees, but secretly he's planning to use the robot to like undermine Yo and sort of destroy the city that he's built. He's trying to bring the whole thing down. So Rotvang kidnaps Maria and in the scene we were talking about before, transfers her likeness onto the robot through all of his sci-fi machinery, and it's very cool. It's probably going to be the thumbnail of this episode.
You'll see it. You've seen it.
You've definitely seen it. It's in every montage of film history ever done. Then we get another great stretch of the movie, which is Robo Maria just fucking shit up. We get the sexy robot dance scene, which is crazy, and I think like kind of unintentionally funny, but it is just great. In general,
it's just her dancing really weird, and she like is so entrancing to all of the men around her. This is like these aren't the people underground too. It's like he's kind of revealing his new robot sleeper agent at a party
in like a nightclub
in the city.
Yeah,
and he's just like, check out my robot sleeper agent. Also, she can dance.
Yeah. And then all of the men turn into like blubbering ghouls at the sight of her dance. And there's just some great shots.
That's the sexiest robot I've ever seen.
Well, she looks like a human. They don't know she's a robot. But they're all like staring right into camera, just making the most like lecherous, creepy faces possible. There's a great like multiple exposure shot of just eyes.
Yeah.
All these different eyes, different sizes, which was shot like proper multiple exposure. They had to just mask off part of the shot shoot an eyeball, mask off a different part, shoot a different eyeball, like rerun the film through the camera every time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Those shots are really cool looking, and like it's some of the more kind of avant-garde stuff that the film gets into, which, you know, you could, I mean, it's clearly like doing an objectification thing. In fact, she is an object in a way. Like we're talking about, there's a lot going on in this movie.
There's a whole thing in this dance scene too that is like kind of lost in, I think, in almost every version of the movie except for the most recent restoration, where there's other scenes referring to like this like multi-headed beast and like a woman who will ride the beast and like bring doom to civilization. And we see that in the dance scene. She's like on this giant like sculpture of a creature.
Yeah.
And that whole sort of like symbolic thing is kind of lost in I think everything but the most recent restoration, because those other scenes referring to that stuff aren't there.
As with this and like Maria's whole thing and the Tower of Babel, like there's a lot of religious imagery going on, and like religious like reference going on in this.
Which notably, it was like the first thing they cut out. Like that's a lot of the stuff that's been restored more recently is that like all like the religious subtext and sort of the more, I guess, sort of like spiritual aspect of the movie.
I guess I'm like a little unsure on what it's doing with all of that stuff.
Right.
It's referencing it in terms of like, oh, it's the Tower of Babel. It's a thing that failed, you know?
Yeah.
But like, I feel like it's got so much of it in it that it's doing something else with it, but I'm not entirely clear on what.
There's definitely a lot of just ideas of like femininity, and I mean like real life Maria is like maternity personified. Like she's like leading all the children. She's like this sort of like innocent, like noble figure, and then Robot Maria is like a sexy femme fatale robot lady.
Yeah, it's like kind of like the virgin and whore dichotomy.
Yes,
but like
very
within
much so.
The same person in a way,
right.
Which is wild.
Yeah. Robot Maria is also like undermining the whole. Before she was sort of sermonizing about like trying to find peace between the classes, and now Robot Maria is like, no, we need to take the fight to them. We need to bring this shit down.
And which is an intentional thing that Yo says, okay, like we're gonna have her take the place of the original Maria and then make the underclass get violent so that we have an excuse to violently stamp them back into place. Like this is all part, you know, I was saying Sleeper Agent before. This is all part of a deliberate plot to make the rebels like go too far.
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing where I feel like, yeah, I got the feeling of this being a revolutionary movie before, but then like where it ends up with this stuff like feels like actually this entirely corrupt, horrific system shouldn't be brought down, you know?
Well, because then it's like Rotvang's plan, right, is to like bring the whole system down, right? Like Rotvang just wants to see Yo suffer. He just wants to see his shit get destroyed.
Yeah. There's an uprising led by Robot Maria. They destroy a bunch of stuff, and Yo intentionally lets them do it, so that they can kind of put them down once and for all. They can express their revolutionary sentiment and then see that it failed, so give up and become slaves again, basically.
Yeah. But so they're uprising. They attack the Heart Machine, which unbeknownst to them, once they destroy it, floods the Undercity, where they've left all of their children behind. And so real Maria escapes in a scene that is mostly lost. And her and Freighter go down and are trying to help the children escape. And there's a whole escape thing where like the city is flooding and the buildings are being crumbling and being destroyed, and they have to like bring all these children up through it, and it's nutso and cool. In the above ground, there's like the angry mob realizes that their Undercity has flooded and they think all their children are dead. So they basically lynch Robot Maria and burn her at the stake, where it is revealed that she is a robot, a la Terminator.
This movie's so cool.
Yeah. And so then they realize that they've been duped, I guess, to a degree, and like the children come up above ground, and Rotvang tries to recapture Maria because he's like still looking for a replacement for Hel. And Frater chases after them, and Frater and Rotvang have a big fight on top of the roof of a church, like the end of Batman, and Rotvang falls off, and Frater becomes
like
the
end
fabled.
of Die Hard.
Yes, Frater becomes the fabled mediator between the head and the hands, the heart, and it's sort of at the end, everyone's like, okay, we can work together now, and maybe the situation will improve. Mm-hmm. With like the religious or sort of like stuff, I know that the novel had a lot more like mysticism and witchcraft and kind of supernatural stuff, and a lot of the like old Babylonian gods, the like eldritch god stuff is more prevalent in the novel. There's also a lot more like drug use and like hallucinatory stuff.
What?
And this movie has some hallucinatory stuff in it for sure. A lot of like the nightclub scenes, some of the more recently restored stuff is like, oh right, so when the worker that switches places with Frater goes above ground, he finds a bunch of money in his pockets because it's Frater's clothes, and he's like, you know what, I was gonna go back to his apartment like I said I was gonna, but I could just go to the club instead. And he does that. And I think for all of this movie's kind of like flash, it's very flashy and it is incredibly lavish and gorgeous to look at. The storytelling of it is fairly straightforward. It is pretty like, as I guess we've been saying, like it is clearly has a lot to say, but ultimately almost it feels like it's not maybe willing to commit to like any one stance. It feels very broad in its messaging, I think.
This dinged the movie a little bit for me, honestly. Like I have always listed this as one of my favorites, and on reevaluation, I just don't like a movie that can't it doesn't have guts, you know? This like knocked it down a peg for me because the movie lacks chutzpah, you know? It gestures, I don't know, it's weird, it gestures so hard at like extremely progressive revolutionary politics, and then kind of just backs away at the end.
I mean, it's definitely going for a similar kind of mythic storytelling that I think is very popular in Germany at the time. And
considering that it's written by a future Nazi, the mythic storytelling and occult stuff kind of makes sense.
Yeah, which is a thing. I mean, Fritz Lang liked this movie seemingly when he made it, but sort of later seemed to sour on it. There's like later quotes and interviews and things with him where he's like, yeah, Metropolis, not my favorite. And I think a lot of that might have had to do with the fact that this movie was very much embraced by Nazis, of being like, look, a big city, we love that.
A symphony of a great city, we love that.
So I think that element of it, and probably, you know, it's like he doesn't want to watch the movie that he made with his ex who became a Nazi. Like, that's not fun for him.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, of course. I think the biggest kind of truth that this movie gets at, or the biggest kind of takeaway from all of its messaging that I think is like a good core message to take away from it, is like how large groups of the population are often pitted against each other on the whims of like a handful of people. That it's like, it's just basically Yo and Rotvang have this dumb rivalry because they were both in love with the same woman, and that basically like almost destroys an entire city because they're trying to like pit people against each other, trying to pit like populations against each other.
Yeah, like the rich and powerful use the world and humans as their playthings.
And that was the thing I was like, that feels very relevant today as it did then. And I think is like, that was my sort of thing where I was like, okay, this is the thing I can take away from this movie that feels right and feels like the movie is actually saying something of value.
And also that when you're working for your overlords, you are getting swallowed by a beast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think no matter how it, pussyfoots on the ultimate like answer to this question, it is like making this big statement about how like laborers are being fed to
Yeah.
their owners.
Their bodies are being sacrificed
Yeah.
for the status quo to continue running.
It is so I was able to watch this in a movie theater that I used to work in that has a that is due to, as evidenced in a number of articles that have come out and experience, kind of a rough place to work. And I think it is fitting that the theater had the theater's entrance is the Moloch mouth from Metropolis, which ever since I started there and saw that, I was like, I've got to watch Metropolis in this theater.
You got it.
But it is kind of funny that it's like, yes, workers who are working extremely long, back-breaking shifts walk through this Moloch mouth.
You got to shift on the clock machine.
It's cool. It's very cool, but maybe a bit of a messaging mistake.
Yeah. There's that great intertitle thing with like the words Moloch coming up in like an animated intertitle.
I love an animated intertitle.
Oh, whenever they pop up, I'm so happy. They're very cool. So